Maurice Ravel's Bolero was composed in 1928, and it was a smashing success right away. That surprised the composer more than anyone. Ravel was quite convinced orchestras would refuse to play it. 15 minutes long, the same melody all throughout, the same rhythm, no additional movements. That's weird. As the story goes, when he first started composing it, he sat at a piano with a friend and playing with one finger, played the outline of the melody and said, "What do you think of this? I'm going to try and repeat it a number of times without any development." As an abstract concept, Bolero and social media have a lot in common. Bolero has this gradual build-up, starting with just a snare drum and eventually incorporating the full orchestra. Social media began with simple platforms that allowed basic interactions, but they've evolved into complex ecosystems. Bolero has a cumulative effect, layering instrument upon instrument to create a rich tapestry of sound. Social media layers interactions, connections, and content. Each user has their own small contribution, but in aggregate, they create a vast network of information and social interaction. Bolero builds to a crescendo and a climactic point, much like how social media campaigns or movements can start small but gain momentum through user participation, leading to real-world change. Bolero is polarizing. People tend to love it or hate it. Social media? Obviously. Both Bolero and social media are fluid, not static. They evolve and change over time. And both appeal to newer generations all the time. Bolero saw massive sales with the movie 10 with Dudley Moore and Bo Derek when it was released in 1979. Torval and Dean used a shortened version of it for their gold medal ice dancing at the 1984 Olympics. The song was used at the torch lighting ceremony for the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. And Nintendo was going to use it as the main theme for the first Legend of Zelda video game, but opted not to at the time due to copyright concerns. Today, on Stories and Strategies, a fresh look at the big social media channels we all use right now. Beautiful harmony or out of tune? My name is Doug Downs. A quick note before we start, I want to say hello and thank you to Ashley E.M. Ashley on Apple Podcasts in the United States left us a 5-star rating and an awesome review. She says, "I love listening to this podcast. I've gained valuable strategic insights from multiple different episodes. Keep these coming. Excellent work here." Ashley, you rock, and you don't know how much I appreciate this. It means a lot to me personally. My guest this week is Stephanie Huston, joining today from Philadelphia, PA. Hey, Stephanie.
Hello, Doug. How are you doing?
Good. How are things in Philly? Big Eagles fan, Phillies fan, Flyers? Where do your allegiances lie?
So my allegiances actually lie in New York. I'm a I'm an East Coast triple threat. So I was born in New Jersey, raised in Philly, and adulted in New York City. So I'm sure my dad's going to be listening. So it's Yankees, Giants for the teams. But I will be going to a Phillies game on Saturday, so I'll make up for it.
As a Canadian, when I hear that Yankees term or see the brand, it's like the Death Star to me. That's just go Blue Jays. Stephanie, you're the founder and owner of Stephanie Huston, LLC, and it all began in 2008 when you started building your personal brand. And that led you to become a top earner in the New York City digital advertising industry. You've published articles in the Huffington Post, Business Insider, Refinery 29, and others. And there's a banner at the top of your website, and it says don't click here, right? It's bait,
Yes.
people. It's bait. And of course, you know that going in. Don't click here. Blink, blink, blink. So you know what I did? I clicked. That's how you and I met. And still at this moment, I checked it before we started recording. If you go to that page on Stephanie's website, there's an offer for a free social media audit mini sprint, which I took you up on. And I get this analysis a short time later of all my channels. And I'm like, reading it, I was like, whoa, whoa, this is. And so you and I spent like almost an hour together. I think it was a Zoom call, one of those. And that's anyway, we went through pouring through the channels and we thought, we should do a podcast episode together, just analyzing the channels in general, not my channels, but the channels that are out there. So ready to go?
Ready to go.
Okay. Let's start with the one that's become real controversial, has been for a long time, but never lets us down. X, which was controversial before Elon Musk, to be fair. But how is X doing?
Yes, that is true. It has had its fair share of news since the start. Okay, so I'm coming from the perspective of the solopreneur, the small business owner, the entrepreneur with a tiny team that's building, their company brand and probably their personal brand too. I think, X has had its controversies, but as Gary Vee would say, I'm platform agnostic. I don't care what billionaire is making a mess of things. I'm still a big fan of X as a platform and really consider it critical for big or small brand building. I know we talked about, I think X is still hands down the best platform to connect directly with and get noticed by journalists, authors, influencers, big brands, sports teams, etc.
Customer service, if they won't answer their email.
Yeah. That makes it necessary for all big brands, whether it's good things or bad things. Like I send shout outs to like Asana and Grammarly when I like their updates and get, tweets back from their product team. So it's a great way to connect with super fans as well, not just the complaining fans.
And I think politically, like in Canada, we had the federal budget come out. And all the political parties right away, they need to get on social media to give their narrative. This is good and this will be helpful for young people. And then, the opposite voice to no, this is terrible and it's going to kill jobs. Political parties want to control the narrative. And let's face it, they're doing it on X because it has that newsreel kind of quality, doesn't it?
Yes. Yep. Twitter is where, I go for like the real-time updates and, all the opinions. If a news story is breaking, Twitter is just hands down where I'm going to go first. And I'm probably finding it out from Twitter first before any news platform is reporting it. So you don't have to love it, but I think still take advantage of it. Tweets are going viral all the time and people are repurposing their tweets content on other platforms too. So it's just another way to do it.
And real quick, how many years until we actually call it X and not Twitter? 5 years? 20 years?
Twitter forever. I'm hoping someone's going to change it back. I'm just like, why? Like, do anything else you want to it, but...
So let's switch over to the meta banner now. Facebook, still the king or queen of total reach for social media.
Yes. Yeah. I was actually looking up just like the general overall monthly active user statistics for each one of these. And I don't know, I feel like people feel that like Facebook is dead, is, dying out, but I think it's obviously far from it. Maybe it's just the Gen Z folks that I'm talking to. But I think it has like 3 billion, monthly active users. And especially with IG, Instagram, and Threads floating it now, it's not going anywhere. So I think a lot of people in my circle are avoiding it like the plague, but it is still worth posting your content to, especially because Facebook does force you to create a company page to have your Instagram page. So you have to have it, might as well be posting content to there as well. I've seen, a lot of stuff just go unexpectedly viral and get a lot of traction. So you might as well be involved in that as well.
And I'm on both of those, but both X and Facebook for me, from a business standpoint, I don't pay a lot of it. As you know, I don't pay a lot of attention to those two. One I do like is Instagram. But has Instagram peaked? Has it kind of topped out, or is there room still for it to grow?
Ooh. I think there's still room for Instagram to grow. I think they've been struggling to, find their own within the TikTok growth realm. And they're number 3 on the list with 2 billion monthly active users. And I know millennials are still holding strong for that demographic, myself included. I watch a lot of my TikToks on Reels. So I know that's, what a lot of brands are doing. But I think Instagram is still now just generally considered as like a must-have. Maybe one of like the most annoying things to figure out with feeds and now Reels, but really any small business owner, brand, or influencer needs to have that kind of like chunk of real estate on Instagram. And I recommend, I know we talked about, this with you, is that entrepreneurs should really be building up their personal brands along with their company brands. So the accounts can support each other, but you can share different types of like personal behind the scenes content. And I've noticed just that my personal professional brands tend to get a lot more traction than just hey, I'm a business and I'm selling something type of accounts.
And what kind of posts? I've noticed carousels. A lot of people posting carousels, and they video and photo carousels. That seems to be the trend.
Yes, yeah, and carousels are really popular on TikTok too. And so, obviously now at this point, Instagram is openly competing with TikTok in that video realm. And really prioritizing pushing reels and videos. So if you are posting carousels, which do well because people are swiping through, so you're getting just that more engagement time, as you're going. And using popular trending sounds on reels to get traction has worked really well. And I've been getting up to like 20,000 monthly impressions on Instagram using that sound strategy with just choosing anything that's trending.
Oh, that's so interesting. And again, to do it as a brand, just give people a value nugget. Don't tease them. Don't say, click on my website kind of thing. Just give them something of value, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You want to, I know one of my big things that I'm really excited about is just, this is where like the fun, fluff, real, casual content comes in. People are so quick to feel like everything has to be a sales pitch, a call to action, a click here, but just focus on providing.
We're supposed to always do CTAs, aren't we?
Exactly. But I don't think so. I think especially with Gen Z coming in, hot in the market and with their spending power, they want to see the more casual, fun, organic, behind the scenes stuff. Like their, radar goes off when they see that perfectly designed thing to try to, sell you something.
Perfect. And still with Meta, Threads. I've gone through this is useless and stupid, period, to I'm coming around with this Threads thing. Am I part of the mainstream here?
Yes, yeah, I think so. I think right now it has like 130 million active users, so it is at the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
But it was less than a year ago when Meta kind of hard launched Threads. I think it was July 2023. X was going through, some type of phase, and everyone just kind of not jumped ship, but where Instagram made it really, or Meta made it really quick and easy to register. And it was interesting to see how they played the launch and leveraged Instagram and Facebook users to become the fastest growing app ever. I think it was Instagram, for example, took 15 months to get to that 30 million user mark, whereas it took Threads one day.
Okay, some momentum built by Instagram
The
and by
momentum,
Facebook,
yes.
right? So they harness some of that, but
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I've been approaching Threads the same way I do with like every new platform, and I will for every platform that comes. I've created a profile. I'm observing. I'm keeping an eye on things. Like at first, they didn't have hashtags, and now they've integrated hashtags into posts.
you can put one hashtag per post or not per thread, but per post within the thread.
Yes, and then it's just like like a link to it or however. So and then just liking, reposting, commenting on relevant content while I figure things out. But I have noticed an uptick of the brands and the influencers and the entrepreneurs that I follow creating content on Threads as well.
One thing with threads is some of my clients use Hootsuite. They've got some that use Buffer. I actually use Later, which is cool, but there are all kinds of scheduling. I've left thousands of them out here. There are all kinds of scheduling apps. Threads isn't on many of the big ones yet, but they're working on it.
Yes. Yeah, same here. The one that I use too as well, Social Bee, doesn't have Threads yet. So that's also my kind of like tipping point from like, well, I'll start scheduling content on that when I can actually have content scheduled and just observing for now.
And it's still cool to schedule content. I don't, because it's gotten so live feely and casual that I almost get nervous. Should I really be scheduling this stuff? But it is still cool to use a scheduler for social media.
I think so. I mean, I think that it's cool to be like efficient, cost effective and efficient with your time and managing social media. And I think that you can still be that, cool, casual, organic and still have it planned out. But just for me being a neurodivergent entrepreneur with ADHD, like I can get, 30 posts done in 90 minutes versus 30 posts done in like an hour every day.
Wow.
So definitely recommend being able to be strategic in planning it out and proactively batch creating content.
Okay. TikTok, still controversial, especially in the US. That has really sparked some controversy. I admit I like TikTok a lot and one of my best engagement channels next to LinkedIn. But how is TikTok, and can you crystal ball whether we're going to be able to use it in a year from now?
Yes. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think TikTok is so controversial because it is so powerful. It's empowered billions of people to like create, produce, edit their own, series, streams of unique video content and share knowledge, interests, ideas, passions, and information like in a way that was never possible before in that video format. Because of course you have YouTube, who is still a big player, but the video editing aspect to it, like they didn't like give it to the people. So it's been cool to see it, evolve and really see now empowering like every generation to share their own story their way. So I think people are gonna, make the fight to keep it around.
And its main audience is Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Those are the two main targets for TikTok.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And then a lot of folks are posting their TikToks onto Instagram Reels as well and repurposing it. And so there's like that joke that like millennials see.
I do that.
I'm like, I watch a lot of my TikToks on Reels, and then that's the same for a lot of millennials.
Okay. I kind of see YouTube as a social media channel, a big one because it's a massive search engine. Am I in the right vein? It's at least sort of a social media channel.
Yeah, I think so. I'm right there with you. I think YouTube is an integral part of any, brand or company's social media, because I feel like there's its own world within the comments for so many creators, and really being able to build a community within your subscribers there. And so I think it's, very social in that sense. I think it's the number 2 with 2.5 billion monthly active users. So there's definitely a whole, ecosystem within YouTube in itself. And my advice is, even if you're not actively creating content for YouTube, have a profile created because eventually there's going to be some form of horizontal long form content, whether it's, a podcast, a keynote speaker, something you created. And you'll just want to, have something ready to be able to post that or get tagged and collaborated in that. I've been posting videos randomly for 11 years, and I've had one video get 500,000 views on
Yours
YouTube.
Yours are good. Yours are excellent, by the way.
Just random travel ones and stuff, and not really, concentrating on that yet. But then, it's there, and it's just building in parallel while you're working on everything else.
Sort of feels like YouTube, 15, 20 years ago, we all kind of went, whoa, we need a website. Yeah, we should get one of those website things. It sort of feels like YouTube is right there. We need a YouTube channel. Yeah, we need a YouTube channel.
Yes, yeah. I feel like everyone's there. That's one of the ones that so many companies have, started and stopped so many times because they don't realize how much time and energy it takes to actually produce it and get the thumbnail with the catchy title and the catchy image and the description with the keywords. So it's a whole beast within itself. That you need to decide if you want to commit to that.
Yeah, but worth it. Okay, LinkedIn. Might be my favorite, hands down, social media channel.
Yes. So I'm right there with you. LinkedIn is hands down one of my favorites. It's a social network for businesses and entrepreneurs and people building their careers. And it's one of my favorite places to be, where, people who get your industry and your niche things that you can connect with them. I've been connected with, professors and bosses that I've met, 20 years ago and still able to keep in touch with them in a way that was never possible before. And so I think that it's, such an important platform to capitalize on, whether you are in a career or building a business.
Yeah. And it just feels like people are so polite there. I remember I had one little sort of semi-nasty comment to something I'd put, and I said, hey, this isn't Twitter. People just seem to be more collected about themselves when they're on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's way more professional and inspirational.
Yeah. Pinterest. I've dabbled in Pinterest, but at least I don't think I'm on it. I certainly don't go on it. But this is one I probably should be looking at. Pinterest.
Yes, Pinterest is growing. They have almost 500 million monthly active users. So they're getting up there. I think they're above Twitter in that sense. So I feel like I've been saying every platform is my favorite, but Pinterest really is my favorite platform. Even for the mental health creative aspect of things, of you're not commenting, there's no crazy feeds. You can kind of get lost in designing whatever image or whatever board that you want to go after. And it does have a 76% skews 76% female. So especially for any brands that want to target that female demographic, that's the place to be.
That's our podcast demographic. So we should definitely get on Pinterest with this podcast. And real fast, Medium. I have no experience with Medium.
I love Medium. So Medium is basically a public blog platform is how I would describe it. So, basically if you have a blog on your website, for the most part, your blog is never going to have as much impressions, reach potential, than Medium, because Medium's getting 100 million monthly active users. And it has been flooded now with more celebrities, journalists, and getting features from that. But blog posts can and will go viral on Medium. People can share it, they can comment on it, and get picked up by, national and local publishing outlets. And that's how I've gotten most of my articles published by the bigger outlets, by getting traction on Medium first.
Great idea. I'm glad we did this episode. Hashtag thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hashtag grateful.
If you'd like to send a message to my guest, Stephanie Huston, we've got her contact info in the show notes and that free mini sprint offer on her website. Don't click there. It's right at the top. Do not click. Stories and Strategies is a co-production of JGR Communications and Stories and Strategies podcast. Whatever app you're listening on, one thing you could do for us is follow us on Podchaser. and maybe even add us to a list. Podchaser is kind of becoming the IDMB of podcasts. Really cool. There's a link to this podcast in Podchaser in the show notes to this episode. That would be awesome. And lastly, do us a favor, forward this episode to one friend. Thanks for listening.